Michael, no, Alex, everyone, or this version of him. I don't know.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm going to start with a story, and it begins in another reality, and a man is working in a field, tilling the earth, and he hears something ringing in the air, something like a cry for help. He can't really place where it's coming from, but he finishes his day's work, and the next day, as he's traveling to his next job, he hears it again, stronger, clearer before, coming from the forest, deep within the forest, and he decides to investigate. So he plunges in, he breaks off from his group, and he goes deep into the woods where he knows there to be dangers. And he comes upon an old manor. Inside is an old man living alone, and he has a curse laid upon him. He's in pain, he has been for a very long time. He's had visitors, great magicians and wizards with powers that had come to make a name for themselves. They had heard of a man with an unbreakable curse, and they figured if they could bring their great power to him and rip the curse off of his body and free him with their great intelligence and power, then they could be famous and do what no one else could. But that was such a violent, sudden solution. He couldn't bear it. It was as if they would rip his own skin off. So they left empty-handed. They left him alone in his suffering to live by himself for many years. And he had no visitors for a very long time until this man heard a call and showed up on his doorstep. And this man was no great wizard. He worked for people. He worked on farms. He traveled around. And when he looked at this man in front of him, he didn't see an unbreakable curse. He didn't see a problem to solve. He saw a man in pain. And he decided, with whatever experience he had, to pull deeply from within himself an intention. And he looked at that curse that wrapped around his body, clinging to it like cobwebs stuck to the tree, the bark of a tree. And he wove onto it. Rather than pull it away from the man, he added his own intention to it. And he wove into that man and that curse this intention that filled the cracks of the bark around him, adding movement. It added space between the tangles of the webbing that choked him, so he had a little bit more room to breathe. And gently, diligently, the man, caring for another, worked without expectation, only to help, only to aid and ease, until he had covered the man's body entirely with that intention. And suddenly, like a rusted lock given a new key, the curse yielded and fell away, and the man was free. But the curse had held on to him, was bound to him for so long. It was clear his body didn't know how to hold itself up anymore. He was soon to pass on. And though he was afraid to die in pain, here he was dying slowly, free, resolved, and grateful to the man in front of him. And he was ready. And there were no witnesses for the man who helped, who showed up. He gathered his things, and he traveled on. No news spread of this event, but he had touched upon something within himself that he did not know he was capable of doing before. And he left behind him peace and an act of goodwill. I woke up from this dream 5 years ago, touched deeply within myself, not knowing what to make of it, but knowing that it mattered and that it meant something. And I reflected on this dream for so long because I see myself in others and I learn from others around me. And I looked at this dream and I did not know who I was in the dream. I saw parts of myself in that cursed man, who felt stagnant and stuck in a career that did not fulfill me. When I was honest with myself, I realized I wasn't aligned with what I cared about. I wasn't really happy down in my heart. And I looked at the other man who helped, who showed up, and I admired him, and I wished I could be him, but if I was honest with myself, did not know how to help other people. I was still figuring out how to help myself. And he had this experience, he had this resolve to show up and to help without expectation. And as I reflected on this story, eventually I came to realize that it wasn't about who I was in the dream. It was about who I chose to live as. And I would rather live and die, try and fail if need be, to live as that man did in helping others, than remain safe in my shell of this path that I had walked for so long, restlessly comfortable in this security that I had thought would make me happy. And so here we are today. Not only am I a meditation teacher, but also in half a year from now, I will be graduating as a mental health counselor. Working to help others and working also to help myself. I meditate every day because as part of this practice in helping others, I realized that to sustain myself in this work, to help myself help others for the rest of my life, I need to be able to show up, not only for them, but also for myself. And I need to hold space, give movement, breathe, not only with other people's discomforts and pains and suffering, but also my own. And so every day when I meditate, I investigate, and I hold space, and I care, and I show up for myself. And I think that's how I want to live. I think that's how you should live. Helping others helps yourself. Helping yourself helps others. And in doing so, you practice. You practice showing up for what you care about most. So I invite you all to not think of yourself as what you are now, but as what you want to be and how you want to live, so that we can all see our cups not as half empty or half full, but filled to the brim and overflowing, so that we can take our cups that runneth over and pour them into the cups of others. And that's how we want to live, in connection to ourselves and to others. And all it takes to dare to live up to your own dreams is to show up for them and to practice. Thank you.